Hey guys, Ambience here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to beat FNaF 2, Nights 3, and 4 on FNaF VR Help Wanted. As the final two normal levels of the FNaF 2 mode, these nights start to ramp up the difficulty, and while they are still very manageable, they can be pretty overwhelming if you don't know a good pattern to follow. So that's mainly what we'll be talking about today. Along with that, I'll tell you how Mangle works and some other bits of info that I've found out since the last guide. First of all, jumping into Night 3, let's recap some info from the last guide, just in case you missed it and to keep it fresh in your mind. The primary strategy is to keep the hall light on as much as possible and wind the music box at the same time, while occasionally checking the vent cameras and lights. This allows you to watch for threats from all angles while still having plenty of time to wind the music box. I decided to record this guide in VR to showcase how these nights work there, since the other nights were done in flat mode and it is definitely a lot more stressful in VR. You have to actually hold down the hall light to keep it on, which is doable while winding the music box, but becomes tricky with a VR specific strategy that I'll outline later. Anyway, knowing when to check what is largely based on movement intervals. As a reminder, here's the intervals for all of the characters active on this night. I did a longer breakdown of how all these numbers work in the first guide, so if you really want all the info on that, I'll link it in the cards. The short version is basically that the numbers stay the same regardless of the night, and higher AI means they're more likely to move earlier into the range. Because Toy Chica's fastest interval is every 15 seconds, that's how often you'll check the vent lights, approximately every 15 seconds. In between checks, that's when you wind the music box and keep the hall lights on. There's a number of cues that animatronics are close, including metallic banging when someone enters the vent, metallic walking sounds when someone gets to the blind spot in the vent or when Foxy or Mangle move, and BB talking or laughing when he moves. The new threat for this night, and the last one that activates during the main game, is Mangle. While Mangle was able to move around on Night 2, she couldn't reach your office, so he wasn't a true threat. From now on, however, you need to actively watch out for her. Unlike the other animatronics and his original FNaF 2 counterpart, she has two ways to enter the office, through the right vent and through the hallway. This basically makes him a kind of hybrid of Toy Freddy and Toy Bonnie, and arguably the most dangerous character until the rest of the Wizards activate. This makes it even more important to keep the hall light on, as once she gets in position, he can crawl into your office and cause a blackout anytime. If she's there, keep a close eye on the hallway while winding the music box, just like you would for Toy Freddy. Otherwise, just keep checking the right vent consistently and throw on the mask if you see him, just like you would for Toy Bonnie. Mangle integrates pretty well into the current strategy, you've just got to be aware that she can come from the hallway too, since this completely caught me off guard and nearly caused me to fall over the first time I played this game. Anyway, let's put the strategy together and we'll talk about some additional info once we get closer to Night 4. At the start of the night, go to Cam 11 and keep the music box wound up. Also, turn on the hall light within the first 30 seconds to be ready for Foxy. Again, if you're in VR, you'll need to hold down the button, so be aware of that. This can be kinda tricky to do if you're also winding up the music box because the buttons in this game are really finicky and like to switch off randomly. If that happens, just lift your hand and press the button again and it should work. Anyway, keep winding the box mindlessly until one of two things happens. Either Foxy appears in the hall with a loud scare chord, or BB makes a loud sound cue that sounds much closer than his normal ones. If Foxy shows up, spam the light on and off until it jams and he goes away. If BB made a loud noise, then be aware that the next time he makes a loud sound, he'll be at your vent light. Throw on the mask as soon as he does, you don't even need to check the light and he'll run away. You can take it off instantly, he'll leave the instant it's put on. Next, keep an eye on the hall since someone will probably be there soon. Either Toy Freddy walking up to the doorframe, or Toy Bonnie or Chica walking to one of the party rooms. It's unlikely that either of these things happen before Foxy or BB show up, but it can happen, so keep an eye out early just in case. Anyway, once you see someone walking to a party room, then you need to start checking the vent on that side roughly every 15 seconds. If you have the music box fully wound up, you can also take a moment to check both vent cameras and find out who's close. Just make sure the camera flash is on so you can see better. Once you see Toy Chica or Bonnie in the vent light, put on the mask as quickly as you can and they'll immediately enter the office and do a blackout sequence for the next few seconds. Make sure to not take off the mask until they're gone. That is possible on this version of the game and it will get you killed. Once they leave, they'll be sent back to the stage and won't show up again for a bit, so you can relax on checking the vent if you need to prioritize other things, like the music box or Foxy. Just listen for BB's louder sound cue if you're ignoring the left, and make sure you know where Mangle is if you're ignoring the right. Keep the hall light on as much as possible so Foxy doesn't sneak up on you, and so you can watch for Toy Freddy. Freddy usually takes at least a minute to enter the office after making it to the doorway, so don't panic, but you should keep a close eye on him if he's there regardless. Try and look up as much as possible while winding the box. You'll be able to see him enter even if you don't have the light on since his eyes glow in the dark when he moves, but having the light on is nice anyway, especially to watch for Foxy and Mangle. Remember that Mangle moves roughly every 30 to 50 seconds, so once he's been at the doorway for almost 30 seconds, you really need to watch out. If you're in VR, a very helpful strategy is to hold the Freddy mask in your left hand when animatronics are close, so that you can put it on quicker when they attack. This makes it harder to do multiple tasks at the same time, but it does make things a whole lot safer. Do this when Toy Freddy or Mangle have been in the hall for a while, or when you know that someone in the vents is close. That way you can immediately bring the mask to your face as soon as they get in. To recap, wind the box and keep the hall light on as much as possible, spam Flash Foxy when he shows up, listen for a loud BB sound cue to know when he's close, keep tabs on the vent cams when you have nothing else to do, check the lights every 15 seconds except for when you know that no animatronics are nearby, and get ready to put on the mask when someone's been in the hall for at least 30 seconds. Might sound stressful, but it's actually quite straightforward. Anyway, that's pretty much it for Night 3, just more of the same but with Mangle this time. Stay on your toes, be prepared to get attacked from the hallway, and be careful with the vents even if you think someone is far away. Better safe than sorry. Night 4 is very similar for the most part, no new threats, just higher aggression and a more obnoxious music box. Wind the box, keep the hall light on from the beginning, and start checking the vents earlier. Foxy is likely to show up before 1 AM, so be prepared for him early and start checking the vent cameras whenever the box is fully wound and you have a bit of downtime. You can turn the camera flash on while still on cam 11 and it'll stay on, so that can help. Get Foxy when he shows up, and after he disappears, start checking the vents every 15 seconds like usual. There's really not a whole lot to say about this night, it really is just more of the same again with more frequent attacks. You should focus more on the music box since it winds down quicker and winds up slower though, and also be extra careful with the vent lights, since animatronics are now more likely to move earlier in their ranges. You may want to check every 10 to 12 seconds instead just to be on the safe side in case Foxy shows up, or something else happens to distract you for a few more seconds. If you get unlucky here, you could just get jumped really quickly, so again, start playing on the safe side. Like before, keep the hall light on, wind the box as much as possible, keep tabs on the vents, listen for BB, and be ready to put on the mask when Mangle or Freddy have been there for at least 30 seconds. If the music box gets low, don't check the vent cameras until it's over halfway wound again. That is your top priority until the warning symbol disappears. Stay focused and repeat the pattern, remember the mask trick if you're in VR, and you should be good to go. Oh yeah, one more thing that I forgot to mention last guide. The animatronics can just sometimes disappear. Like, actually just take a trip to Narnia and vanish from the mortal realm. I have no clue why this happens, or if it's even intentional, but it does, and it thankfully can't really harm you. Just figure out where they logically should be going next, and they'll either get there eventually or backtrack. This means that Toy Freddy and Mangle can sometimes just leave the hall too. Speaking of backtracking, BB can do this also, which makes counting his sound cues kinda completely useless. It's much better to just ignore the quiet ones completely and listen for his first loud sound cue, since he can't backtrack once he's in the vent camera, and the next sound cue will always be him entering the blind spot. Also, I wouldn't recommend relying on the metallic walking sound that I mentioned last guide. Foxy and Mangle make a lot of noise now, so it's not very consistent to know when someone is there. It's better to just check the lights as much as you can, and rely on the cameras if you want to know if someone is close. I'd really like to say more about Night 4, but I seriously can't think of anything else important. It really is just a slightly harder Night 3 with no real changes. That's a good thing for you though. If you got through Night 3, then you can apply the same strategy here and make it out no problem. Just watch out early this time around, you really get almost no downtime at the beginning anymore. Well, that's all for now. Follow this strategy and you should be able to beat the last 2 normal nights of the second mode. How much do you think Mangle shakes up the gameplay of this mode? Is he a bit of a pushover, or was she a significant difficulty spike? Let me know in the comments. Speaking of which, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you'd like updates on what I'm doing next, feel free to join the Discord server or follow me on Twitter for all the latest on upcoming videos, streams, and collabs, a chance to just chill with other FNaF fans, or even to get help on a night that you're struggling with. If you enjoyed this guide and you'd like to see more, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel to show your support. I know it's the classic YouTuber plug, but it really does help me out. Let's try and hit 25k by the end of the year if we can, and I'll try and get as many guides as I can out soon. I'll also be trying to stream every day of December, working on these guides live, so if you're not watching this too far in the future, consider stopping by tomorrow to hang out and watch me work. I'd also like to give a quick shout out to Bonnie360 for making this video's thumbnail, and to Insta for providing some great information to make this guide as accurate as it can be. Both of them have been helping out with these videos for some time, and they're both linked in the description, so go support them as well. All of the links that I mentioned earlier are down there too, so check them all out. With that being said, thank you guys for watching this guide, I hope it helped you, and I will see you in the next one.